macros, they also vary according to what your body fat percentage is and all those different things. But so for instance, if you are fat fueled, your body can only actually burn so much fat. So we're looking at it for weight loss. So your body can only burn X amount of fat per day. You have the ability to only burn X amount of fat per day. So the general consensus for LCHF is you must be 70, 20, 10. Like that's the ratio.
How does that make you get into ketosis?
So the way to get into ketosis is to remove carbohydrates from your body. It's not necessarily to increase your fat to any degree, but you have to starve your body with glucose. I mean, this is
But it doesn't put people into ketosis.
Well, so this is interesting. So tell me how you get people into ketosis, because our understanding is, and I mean this is Tim's understanding as well, it's basically if you rob the body of carbohydrates and you stick to below 25 grams a day, you will get into ketosis. And it works with, I would say, most people.
I would say not, because you guys are not using glucometers. So how do you know?
Well, they're using ketones.
But that's when your body utilizes highly. It's utilizing the ketones, your urine strips become clear.
Okay, so now tell us more. So you're saying that when the ketone strips say that you are in ketosis, you're actually not, because you're not using those ketones, you're actually flushing them out.
Which makes sense, they're in your urine.
Yeah. So you say
Jeff Bullock and Steve video are like, I mean, urine strips are subjective because ultimately when you're utilizing ketones, the urine strips will turn clear, and they do with the people that I've worked with.
Yeah. So the ratio and the fat calculation and the protein calculation that I'm talking about is based on Bullock and Finney.
But they're new to this, so they're not correct.
Okay. But didn't they write the art and science of low carbohydrate diet?
They did.
Yeah.
But their ratios are still unclear. Their studies were done more on endurance athletes.
Yeah.
And not the lay like the average person.
Yeah.
And so you're dealing with people who have a different type of metabolism.
Okay.
And if you have adrenal insufficiency, you're not going to get into ketosis. If the body's addicted to producing adrenaline, that's going to go into cortisol and gluconeogenesis and raise the spike of blood glucose.
Yeah.
And they have said that if your blood glucose is dominant, then the body will defer to glucose because that's what it's primed and conditioned to use. This is the problem. That's why people use a blood glucometer to test glucose first. Because if they have a glucose of 5.2 and they produce ketones, they'll use a little bit of it, but that doesn't put them into nutritional ketosis at all. And they don't have the benefits of it. And over time of using a small percentage of ketones, their autoimmune or thyroid becomes problematic.
Yeah.
They start losing their hair.
That is something that we have had. Yeah, people lose their hair. Okay, so what do you do to prevent that? What can I read? where can you send me? I suppose I'm going to have to read your book.
The book.
Yeah.
I just got 3 book deal.
That's amazing.
Excited, yeah. And just being the average person, being so diligent and so aggressive in what I'm doing, and not. People are like, where are you getting your information from? I'm like, everybody that I coach. The data is right there. It's black and white. So essentially, if you don't have a gallbladder issue, if you don't have low stomach acid, you have the proper enzymes to break down fat, then there's no limit. There truly is no limit to fat. And people, their health issues improve the higher the fat goes, as long as they can digest it. So if their body doesn't use, and if they're not malabsorptive, just come out.
Yeah.
But essentially, what I learned is that you have to drive your glycogen storages down, and you have to put your body more in a parasympathetic state. A lot of people are sympathetic, they're lit, they're on, they're on, they're on, they're on. Their adrenals are overcranked, and it affects things like pregnenolone steel, where you have cortisol running from your reproductive tree, it branches all the way down to your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, which also everything affects, like the middle of the brain, the medulla, hippocampus, the hormones, the pituitary, hypothalamus, adrenal, guts. If all those are whacked out, then you won't do well on a ketogenic protocol. You just won't. You're inflamed, which produces glucose through cortisol. So what I first try to do is just get people to just chill out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get them to do organic acid testing to find out if they've got leaky gut, parasites, glutathione insufficiency, like anything, see what metabolites are going on in the urine. And then from there we can decide how aggressive the protocol to try a ketogenic protocol is starting. So sometimes I have people do like a 5-week graduation process and graduate their carbohydrates down slowly as I get them to hardcore focus on sleep and hitting enough REM state cycle sleep to
REM state.
yeah, REM state, REM.
Oh, REM state.
Sorry.
Oh, I thought you said REM state cycle. I was like,
It's
oh,
that
that sounds interesting.
It's that ugly California REM state.
Yeah.
REM.
Yeah.
I do consultations and I'll just ask them. I kind of mess with them because I ask them how many dreams a week. You know, who can quantify how many dreams you have in a week? But if I ask them that, they the most common number I hear is 3. Well, you should have 3 in one night, vivid. So just have some kind of flash or feeling that you had these strong dreams and they don't have them. And you know that you repair at night. So, you know, a lot of people are having the early morning dawns effect, or they're developing this kind of this sort of reactive insulin resistance response to ketogenic protocol. I mean, these are things that people don't talk about. You just don't lower your carbs. If your body rejects, if it's stressed, it's going to try to, you know, increase blood glucose. And if you've got insulin and pancreas issues, insufficiencies, you're not going to do well, and that's when the blood glucose keeps rising. And that's why some people have a diabetic response to doing a ketogenic protocol when their fat is too low. So they're just under starvation. And all of these, I've met a lot of people who follow me here, and that's all they're doing. They're doing starvation. And they're having issues. Like one woman, she's having hot flashes. And I'm like, your adrenals are freaking out, hun.
Yeah.
You know? And she's on sleeping pills.
She's on sleeping pills.
Yeah, and I'm like, you don't sleep on sleeping.
Bad start, yeah.
Yeah. And even I talked to her last name, Nikki. She interviewed me yesterday for
Nikki.
What was her last name? Perk?
Nikki Perks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super sweet.
Yeah.
But we spent the whole day and, you know, she's like, I'm down to 1,200 calories a day and I don't know why I'm not losing weight. I'm doing this ketogenic protocol. And I'm like, that's not keto. So what I've noticed is that when I put people on 200 grams of fat, 200, that's when the magic happens. And above.
200 grams of fat.
200.
So, what is the relationship, in your opinion, between, so 200 grams of fat that's 1,800
That's right.
calories of fat, and that's for like a normal size person.
Yeah.
So disobeying completely disobeying any calorie protocol. So,
Calories don't matter. You
well,
don't care
exactly,
how
yeah.
says that.
No, I know, but there's this argument that, you see, I'm conflicted because there are numerous opinions around this, and a lot of people who do preach LCHF still say that the reason you will lose weight is because your hunger is depleted and because you have less hunger from eating fewer sugars and carbs, you actually end up eating fewer calories anyway. But then you get guys like Sam Felton and a few others who have eaten like 6,000 calories in a day, still lost weight, still lost centimeters, become more ripped, but actually reduced their body fat from eating 3 times the.
And that's me. So here's the thing. You know that, you know, fat is not motivated by an insulin receptor.
Yeah.
So carbs are.
Yeah.
So that's scary towels. He's like, how can you get fat if you're eating fat? How's it going to get into the fat cell?
Yeah.
So what I've learned is that if your body is not responding well to dropping your carbohydrates, and you have this kind of negative reaction, and your glucose begins to spike. Because Nikki was freaked out because her glucose was at a 7.2.
That's like diabetic.
I told her that. What's creating that? Stress, lack of sleep. So her body's not responding well on a low carb like that. And she's desperate, and she's down to 1,200 calories. And she's following what you guys have spoken about, and she's giving diabetic numbers.
Yeah.
So that's where I come in. And I'm going to be like, what I would tell her is, you're starving. Your body's going into starvation mode. And what I've noticed is that you have to up your fat exponentially to create fat signaling, fat breakdown, lipolysis, to have this chain of events happen. So your brain will begin to understand it's going to adopt a new substrate, gasoline to the car.
Yeah.
And you can't just eat a lot of fat. You have to put your body in a very, you gotta learn how to rest and digest.
Yeah.
So people who follow me, I get them to change everything.
So do you have like a decision tree